CNN wrote an article wanting us to praise single mothers. No, I don't think we'll be doing that. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s with this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, 1987 at online booksellers everywhere. On Mother's Day, CNN's head of features, David G. Allen, decided to write an article going out here to praise single mothers. And according to David G. Allen, we need to go out here and praise the single mothers for doing such a great job of raising all of America's children. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. Now, according to David G. Allen, 24 million, or one-third of American children under the age of 18 are living with an unmarried parent, and according to the propaganda in his article, we're supposed to celebrate this instead of seeing it as a indicator to the decline of America. Now, with 24 million children, or one-third of American children, living in a home with an unmarried parent, that's really a bad situation, especially when you consider 81% of these single-parent homes are run by single mothers. And we've seen this trend, according to David G. Allen, go out here and double between 1968 and 2017. And what David G. Allen omits from his propaganda piece is that the reason why we saw that rise of single-parent homes is due to leftist policies created by the wealthy and blue politicians, which believed that that a home could be run better by a single mother than with a father. And because they believed this, the wealthy wanted to go out here and break up the American family, and they wanted to break up the American family because they wanted to go out here and get a whole bunch of consumers as related to the home, and they wanted to be able to control the home through the media that they put out here. And they believed that with the woman being the head of the household, they would be able to get a consumer that would not be challenged by the authority of a man. And this is the reason why we have 81% of the single-parent homes run by women. This is something I go in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis. And in The Woman Crisis, I talk about how most of America's single mothers were indoctrinated into feminism and trained to be feminist and did not become women that were supposed to be helpmeets under God's natural order. And this is the reason why we see this rise of the single-parent home that has, according to David G. Allen's article, has doubled between 1968 and 2017. And the reason why we've seen this doubling is because, again, corporate America and big business want to go out here and put the woman in charge of the home because they know that she's a weaker vessel, and that weaker vessel will allow them to go out here and become the ideal worker who will not challenge the authority of corporate bosses, like a man who will go out here and work with other men to organize a union, or go out here and look to push back against policies, because most of those women are going to go out here and comply with those rich men due to their hypergamy, and they're also going to look to create covert contracts with those men in order to go out here and look to rise as related to elevating their social status. These are things that David G. Allen don't want to talk about as related to single mothers, and how single mothers have been socially engineered into society to be the heads of household in a de facto position, because most of those people don't want the man to be in charge, because if the man is in charge, that means that the man is going to go out here and again push back against workplace policies that he believes are detrimental to him. Moreover, he is going to go out here and control his money and make sure that his money is used for building wealth and not going out here and being spent frivolously on consumer items. And this is the reason why we see the rise of the single parent home. And the single parent home is not something that needs to be celebrated, because the single mother is the main reason why we have a man crisis in this country. And this again flies over the head of David G. Allen, who was raised in a single parent home. He thinks that, oh, we need to celebrate the single mother, when we need to go out here and look at the core reasons why we have a majority of these single parent homes. And the reason why we have that, again, that reason we have all of these single parent homes is because big business and the government want to have a woman in charge, and they want the woman in charge because this means that they can go out here and get her to spend impulsively. Moreover, they can go out here and indoctrinate the children into buying into the media's narratives, like this propaganda piece, which is designed to celebrate the single mother and try to make it look like, oh, she's some sort of person who we need to feel sorry for instead of somebody we need to respect. Now, he's sitting there talking about, oh, all of the hard times he had with his single mother, but he never goes out here and asks the critical question, why doesn't he have a father? And the reason why many kids don't have a father is because their mothers were socially engineered and indoctrinated into feminism, and they bought into narratives from the white feminists who told them that they were strong and independent and did not need a man, and they could go out here and do better by themselves. However, these same women would, if they took a look in their Bible, would see that you do need a man. And this is the big problem with propaganda pieces like this. It looks to go out here and minimize the father, and it looks to minimize the accountability of the mother as related to the relationship that she had with the child's father. Because as many women have been indoctrinated into feminism, they have been taught not to go out here and respect the authority of a man, nor have they gone out here and understood that the reason why they got involved with that man that they think is so bad is because the rich have gone out here and changed the social rules and flipped the social hierarchy so that the bottom men are at the top of the social pecking order and the men of character are at the bottom. And that is because nobody wants to go out here and be held accountable as related to vetting these men. And this is something that I talk about again in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis, how women basically who are part of feminism and the rich wanted to go out here and flip the social pecking order so that these bottom feeder men could go out here and get involved with America's women during the sexual revolution. And this is the reason why we have so many women out here who get involved with these dysfunctional guys and then sit there and talk about, oh, I don't know where the father is. Well, if you had a vetting process that was established by men as part of our code, you would be able to vet these guys. And if there's a father out there who can vet these guys, what happens is those Pookies and Ray Rays and bikers and other assorted losers never even want to approach the door, because if they see a man protecting his daughters, what happens is those guys don't want to get involved with that woman because he knows he'll be held accountable, and he'll be held accountable by the men in that community. But that flies over the head of David G. Allen because he possibly grew up not understanding what's leading to so many single-parent homes being made. He doesn't want to go out here and understand the history of what led to all of these single mothers being out here. No, and that's what he's sitting up here talking about, oh, I grew up poor. I grew up not having to wear name brand clothes. Well, that's how a lot of us grew up in the South Bronx. And I myself didn't have the video games or the cable TV or any of that stuff. And again, this guy says his dad lived in a neighboring state, never came to any of his school events, but he never sits there and asks, why isn't my father wanting to be in my life? And the answer to that is that he possibly was one of these pookies who didn't really want to have a child. He just wanted to go out here and get that taste of the atomic waste as she dropped the skid mark jockey draws, and he was allowed to get the taste of the atomic waste, or he was just one of these guys that she got involved with and had all of these unrealistic expectations and wanted and basically nagged out of the relationship. That could possibly be the other reason why the father wasn't in the life, because a lot of feminist indoctrinated women, they have these crazy unrealistic expectations as related to what a man can provide, and when that man can't meet those expectations, she basically goes out here and harasses and harangues that man to the point where he's not even in their life. And I also have to look at this article and ask, he says he's growing up poor, but I thought we had child support laws. And again, this article basically is a lot of propaganda, because he's talking about how bad the father is, when I don't know if this guy ever made a minute to go out here and talk to his father and get his side of the story. Because this is I'm looking at this guy, he's talking about he went to museums and art stores and a Catholic school, and he went to a community theater and all of these other places. And when I listened to this story, it sounded like this father basically was either paying some child support or paying some money. So he's sitting there talking about, oh, we need to celebrate the single mother, while he goes out here and minimizes the father. And when I look at a lot of these guys out here who come from single mother households, they love to go out here and minimize their dad, not understanding the impact that a father can have on a boy as related to his indirect behavior. And that's when I look at this article and I'll just see how suspect it is. And again, I'm listening to this article as related to him, and he's sitting there talking about how kids from single mother households are all right. No, they're not all right. I know, because I grew up in the South Bronx around a lot of kids from single mother households, and I go in depth on this in a classic blog I did called Ways Single Mothers Destroy Their Sons, because most of the boys who come from the single mother households usually wind up growing up to become beta males, and these beta males, they do not know how to function in the real world. No, 90% of these beta males, they do not know how to function in the real world, and the minute their world gets disrupted, many of these men wind up exploding in rage and participating in violent incidents like we see right now, like mass shootings, or they wind up going out here and participating in violent crime. Many of these males, they don't know how to function in the world because they learned how to socialize like a woman. And because they learned how to socialize like a woman, whenever they enter the world of men, many of these males wind up falling completely apart because they don't have the male life skills or male survival skills to know how to navigate life in the world. And many of these males, because they are out here and they learn how to socialize like females, what these males learn how to do is to be passive and not active like a man. Many of these males, they go out here and they learn dysfunction from growing up in these single mother households. Many of these males, they are just they don't know how to navigate through their emotions. They act extremely impulsively, and I've seen this when I was growing up in the South Bronx, and I see it oftentimes when I was working at places like the Strive Job Readiness Workshop. These guys from single mother households are extremely emotional, they are extremely erratic, and they are not in a position where they can take any sort of leadership role. So these guys, they are not all right. And I have done multiple videos over the course of 5 to 7 years as related to showing how dysfunctional they are, because I have run into their dysfunction ever since I was a boy, and I've seen their dysfunction firsthand. Many of these males, again, they're not all right, and it's not about their socioeconomic status. These males just don't have the leadership and guidance, and they don't know how to lead themselves. So when you're dealing with a child from a single parent household, You're dealing with a child who is not capable of going out here and taking the lead in their own life because they have been taught to follow as related to submitting to a female authority figure. And they have also been taught to follow because all they know how to do is follow whatever they're seeing in the media, and instead of them looking to set a direction where they want to be builders, no, all they want to become are consumers. And that's very bad for our society because consumers don't build anything, and if we don't build anything, your country can't grow. So guys who come from single mother households, they're not really what this guy is trying to put out here, talking about, oh, a single mom can make a more stable environment. No, a single mom never really made a stable environment in places like where I live, the South Bronx. No, that environment was made unstable because this woman basically was out here looking for the leadership of another man. And again, that caused conflict because when you have a man who wants to lead his home and he's got kids in that home from another man, what he does is he becomes resentful of those children and looks to remove those children out of that home because he naturally wants to lead his own home, and that home becomes destabilized. So there is no stability inside of a single mother household, and there's no stability because the woman there really is not equipped to go out here and lead and run that home. No, she's not equipped to run and lead that home without the guidance of a man because she runs on her emotions, and she really needs the guidance of a man to show her and set a logical course. This is something that this guy doesn't understand, that he missed out on because he didn't understand that he's out here, he doesn't understand that you need another man to teach you things in this world. And the thing that he's talking about, he learned self-reliance. No, you really didn't learn self-reliance. You need that with a man to show you and guide you. And again, you need a man to give you guidance because, yes, you know how to go to school in the morning and go to college and stuff like that. But there are male life skills that only another man can teach you. And this guy minimizes the whole thing as related to the role of a man teaching a boy what he needs to survive in the world. He wants to sit there and celebrate single motherhood, but as somebody who grew up in the South Bronx around single mothers, I don't celebrate single motherhood because single motherhood is one of the reasons why I had to deal with a lot of chaos from children of the corn and their crazy and erratic behavior. And I've seen firsthand how these kids who grew up without fathers basically grew up to become dysfunctional adults, and these dysfunctional adults basically wound up raising and breeding more dysfunctional adults. So this is a very irresponsible hit piece from CNN as related to men. They went out here writing this hit piece to go out here and take a shot at men on Mother's Day, written by this pander bear. And this pander bear basically wants to try to pander to women with this propaganda piece. And he wants to pander to women, trying to make it look like, oh, single mothers are so good. No, single mothers are not good. No, single mothers, the reason why we have all these single mothers is, again, they have been socially engineered, and they're nothing to be praised because a child needs their father. A child needs a relationship with their father, and we need to go out here and not praise single mothers, but we need to go out here and look to try to rebuild the relationship between men and women, because we have a man crisis and a woman crisis in this country because we had so many kids grow up in single mother households, and because those kids grew up in single mother households, they don't know how to come together in a relationship. Many of the men are becoming more and more detached, and as they are becoming more and more detached, they are participating in antisocial behavior, whereas the girls who grew up in single mother households, They don't feel any love or nurturing from a man, and they don't know how to work in a relationship, and they don't know how to share a bond with a man in a relationship. So this is why I don't celebrate single mothers, because when we destroy the family, we create antisocial behaviors. And this guy at CNN, who grew up in an antisocial, dysfunctional environment, wants to celebrate being dysfunctional instead of looking to go out here and write an article trying to just go out here and try to say we need to bring the family back together, because bringing this whole article, again, as I see it, is extremely irresponsible. It is irresponsible to go out here and say we need to praise single mothers. I don't praise single mothers, and I don't want to promote that type of narrative, because again, this really destroys lots of boys. And from my many years of doing research on the subject, I have seen so many males just basically their lives destroyed. Many of these males who they grow up, they don't know how to have a relationship with a woman because they grow up looking to submit to female authority figures. And that frustrates a lot of the women they get involved with, because those women are looking for that man to lead. But because he grew up in a single mother household and learned how to submit to women, he doesn't know how to lead a family, and that frustrates those women because they want to see him going out here making decisions and taking the lead. So that's the damage I saw as related to single mothers, and that's why I can't praise them, because they cannot raise a boy to become a man. No, what they do is raise boys to become men in crisis, and that's what I've seen over the last couple of years as I've done research to write books like The Man Crisis and books like The Woman Crisis and Stop Simping in Cyberspace. I see generations of men who don't know how to be men, generations of men who don't know how to take responsibility truly for themselves by going out here and building and leading a family. And this guy, he wants to sit here and talk about, oh, the single mother needs to be celebrated. Well, I don't see how there's anything to celebrate. All I see when I see guys who come from single mother households are guys who basically are looking to be mothered by a woman instead of looking to be a head of household. That's what I see. And again, when I look at this article, it is extremely irresponsible. And again, extremely irresponsible for CNN, because they said this was originally published in 2019. And for them to bring it back just shows me how irresponsible they are, because this article praising single mothers, again, extremely irresponsible of them and unethical, because every child needs to have both parents, because the best environment for children to grow up to become healthy men and women is a home where they have both their mother and their father. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to men and women becoming dysfunctional, you can pick up my books, The Man Crisis, The Woman Crisis, and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find these books on other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today.